Hello and welcome to Realm's Edge Gaming. In this episode, I thought we could take a look at the Hammerhal Herald that was released today, because I have to say I think this was a really interesting and brilliantly well done article. So without further ado, what we'll do is we'll just take a look at the front cover of it, and it was all to do with family troubles. And it was kind of overwritten here by the 8 points, so definitely a touch of chaos about it. But before we actually begin reading the article, what I thought was really interesting was the fact that you can actually see the other kind of page or poster there being turned. This was on the Warhammer of Age of Sigmar Facebook page. When you went onto the actual Hammerhal Herald article, it was just shown like this, so you didn't actually see the other article next to it. But it's actually the Blazing Man Festival one. Now, if you've seen any of my previous videos, you might know that we actually did a bit of a discussion about the Blazing Man Festival. And it made me think, are these kind of interlinked? Maybe with the Broken Realms narrative that's kind of unfolding? Is there any kind of reason why they were put together? Or is it just generally, the way that the artists have done it? But without further ado, just something to think about, let's take a look at the article itself, because there's more than enough things there to talk about. So, it says, Family Troubles, talk to us. The 8 Points Therapeutics offers a comprehensive, confidential family counselling service to clients from all walks of life. It's both professional and affordable, but don't take our word for it, it says. Just read some of our testimonials from real customers, and there's an asterisk, and it goes on to say therapeutics recognizes that reality is a flexible concept for divine beings and accepts no reliability for the accuracy of some or all of these statements. And this is where it gets interesting with the three characters that have given their statements. The first one being Khagra, a ravager. So it says here, my sister was a spineless waste of space, unfit to lead our war band until we learn to talk about our feelings. She's still a spineless waste of space, but now I'm the leader. Thanks. 8 Points Therapeutics. Now, let's just go here. So who is Khagra? Well, Khagra is one of the warriors from the Slaves to Darkness warband that was recently released for Diachasm. And it says here, led by a pair of sisters, the new Slaves to Darkness warband are here to conquer Diachasm with a combination of brute force and foul magic. So Khagra is the warrior here, and her sister Zarsha is a wizard. So we've already got a pair of siblings there that have some kind of disagreement between one another. So that is the first quote. Our second quote comes from none other than Malerion, who is, as it rightly says here, a god. And his is quite a funny quote. It says, my relationship with my mother is perfectly normal and healthy. Thank you very much. Well, if you've been following the narrative, and also back from the world that was, Malerion didn't used to be called Malerion in the old world. He used to be called Malekith, and Morathi was his mother. So we had Malerion and Morathi being mother and son. And this is kind of where it's really interesting with the Broken Realms story, because in the Broken Realms Morathi book, it potentially does mention Malerion. We don't really know. There's a shadowy figure that saves one of the Stormcast. It says about a pair of bat-like wings, and as you can see here, Malerion has got kind of a bat-like appearance, because he ended up kind of when the world that was destroyed, he ended up kind of fusing with his black dragon that he used to ride, giving him this kind of draconian appearance. So we've got the two there. We've got Malerion talking about his mum. I always find it really interesting whenever we kind of get any mention of Malerion, because the kind of references to him are far and few between, and I'm really hoping that as the Broken Realms narrative unfolds, that one of our books will really kind of centre around him. I know that there aren't many people kind of holding out that we'll hear anything about him soon, with him being the kind of god of shadow. I really think he's going to wait for his moment to kind of reveal his hand, and probably from the time being he's probably just watching from the sidelines, watching all the chaos ensue, and then wondering when is the best time to strike for his own kind of needs and whims. That was the second quotation. The third one is from Tyrion, another god. Wandering alone through the primordial wilderness of a mythological nightmare made me realise that I valued my brother's perspective more than anything else. Now, at last, I can see through his eyes. So, Tyrion and Teclis, we've got the twin elven gods, and really we've only really seen Teclis. He's going to form the second book in the Broken Realm story. But it's interesting that they mention Tyrion in the article, and I wanted to kind of just talk to you about this article. So this was from the 27th of July, and it is actually the same article that this image came from as well, whereby they were talking about the Elven Pantheon. We had, Malerion, Teclis, Morathi, and Malerion. And it kind of spoke a little bit about these characters. Bear in mind that this was, a good number of months back, so we do know about like the Lumineth Realm Lords and all those things. But it's really the Tyrion part that interested me. So it says Tyrion, like Teclis, was instrumental in the rise of the Lumineth Realm Lords. We're yet to see this masterful warrior. We assume that he's crusading somewhere else. Let's hope he doesn't run into any ancient evil swords. This is that little sentence there is the part that I thought was really, really interesting, because as of yet we haven't seen or heard really very much about Tyrion, and I'm very much hoping with this Teclis book we will kind of delve a bit deeper into the relationship between the two brothers, as Teclis makes his play for Shaiish and for bringing kind of his wrath upon Nagash. It goes on to say, for those unfamiliar with the world that was, Elfkind was once haunted by a terrifying artifact known as the Sword of Cain, also known as the Widowmaker or Godslayer. As soon as we mention Cain, I'm thinking about the Daughters of Cain, Morathi. Again, there's a link there. This weapon was considered even more dangerous than Galmaraz, possessed of a sinister influence and a dark history. During the end times, Tyrion succumbed to the temptations of the blade and was almost consumed. It has, thankfully, not been seen since. Which I think is really interesting that they would add that in. So maybe when Tyrion does make an appearance, we might see a slightly darker character than Teclis, maybe to offset the light. I think as a twist, it would be really, really cool if, I'm sure it won't happen, this is me just, thinking it out loud really, it'd be so cool if kind of Tyrion was more towards Malerion from the realm of shadow, and it would be cool to see him kind of consumed by that darkness and see him more like, it mentioned Umbernath in one of the articles, one Warhammer community, when they kind of maybe let slip, I don't know whether it's kind of marketing or what, but it would be so cool to kind of see a darker version there to kind of offset the light of the illuminated Lumineth Realm Lords. But anyway, I just thought it was a really cool kind of poster, a really cool Hammerhal Herald. I'm possibly reading too deeply into what they kind of show us, but I do think it's fun, and it's nice to see the kind of effort that the design team have gone into creating these posters. But what do you think? I mean, do you just think they're kind of good, interesting bits of design, or do you really think they kind of show glimpses of what might be to come? Just off the bat, I know in the Teclis book there is no Slaves to Darkness. I think we're looking at, if I remember correctly off the top of my head, we've got Lumineth Realm Lords, we've got Ossiarch Bone Reapers, we've got Flesh Eater Courts, Cities of Sigmar, and I think Maggot Kin of Nurgle. So I think those are the 5 that were mentioned at least. But yeah, I'd love to get your opinions below. Is there any kind of credence, do you think, with the fact that the articles about the Burning Man Festival were side by side, or do you just think it's a coincidence? So thank you for joining me. If you've not already subscribed to the channel, I'd love for you to do so. It'd be great to have a chat with you below. If you could drop a comment as well, I'd love to get your opinion. Thanks for joining me once again, and happy wargaming, and I'm sure we'll speak soon. Bye-bye.